So after the meaning of primary data collection and secondary data collection, let's understand various types of both primary data collection and secondary data collection. So let's first understand the various methods through which we can collect primary data. So first method is observation methods. So observation method basically used when the study is related to behavioral science. So this method is basically planned systematically. So it is that subject of many control and checks. It directly observes and record behavior, events, or the process which are provided unfiltered data. So basically, it is commonly used in natural science. So there are also different types of observation: structure, unstructured observation, control and uncontrolled observations, participant and non-participants observation. So basically, it study the data which is related to the natural science or the behavioral science. So now next method of collecting primary data is interview method. Under interview method, the data is collected in term of verbal responses. Okay, so we conduct interview face to face or we conduct interview remotely. Interview provide basically in-depth perception, opinion from the participants. So interview method further used in two ways. It We can say it can be achieved in two ways, through personal interview or through a telephonic interview. So personal interview is that method in which a person known as an interviewer is required to ask question face to face to the other person from the respondent from where we are collecting the data. So basically, personal interview can be structured, unstructured, direct investigation, focused conversation, etc. So now, what is telephonic interview? In telephonic interview, an interview obtain information basically by contacting people through telephone, or they ask question verbally, but with the help of uh, telephone. So this is telephonic interview. So basically, interview methods are of two type: personal interview and telephonic interview. Generally, researcher conduct personal interview as it give accurate data and it is not biased, and it is easy to collect the data through personal interaction or through personal interview, as many of the respondents are not available on the telephone. So researcher or investigator try to collect data through personal interview. Next method of data collection is a questionnaire method. So what in this, the data is collected from the respondent with the help of the questionnaire. A questionnaire can be filled through the personal interview also, or it can be filled through mail also, in which a researcher provide questionnaire to someone through mail, and they will respond that questionnaire back through the mail. So in this, they should read the questionnaire uh, carefully and reply to that questionnaire in back. So basically, the questionnaire are printed in the definite order on the form. These gather specific information directly from individuals or groups of people. So basically, a good survey should have the following qualities. Okay, so basically a questionnaire or a survey have the following qualities, like it should be short and simple, it should follow a logistic or a logic sequence, it provide adequate space for answers, it avoid technical terms which are very hard or very difficult to understand, It should be in a proper or in a good physical appearance. It should be colorful. It should the paper quality should be very good, and it should be attracted to the respondent. So there should be some quality which a questionnaire should have. After that, next method is schedules. So what is this schedules? So this method is very much similar to the questionnaire method, but slightly different from the questionnaire. In this method, there is special appointment is done for the purpose of filling the schedule. So it should explain the aim and objective of the investigation and may remove misunderstanding if there is coming up. So it should be trained to perform their jobs, hard work, and their patience. So this is the method schedule. Now, the last method for collecting primary data is a Delphi method. So what is Delphi method? So basically, Delphi technique is that method where experts on a topic share their opinion and they share their opinion in multiple rounds. So it's like a structured survey where experts answer the question, see the summarized response, and then adjust their answer based on what other think. So basically, this process repeats until a consensus or it should not reach on that topic which being agreemented or on which the issue is always issue is created. So in this Delphi method, market experts are provided with the estimates and assumption of other industry experts or other industry experts forecast. So basically this is Delphi method. So for collecting primary data, here we discuss the five methods: observation method, interview method, questionnaire method, schedules, and Delphi technique. Now let's move towards the next part, which is primary data collection. Now let's move to the second part, secondary data collection. As secondary data is that data which has been used in the past. We have already discussed the meaning of secondary data. Now let's discuss the types of secondary data. Basically, secondary data can be collected through internal source of secondary data and the external source of the secondary data. So now let's understand what is the internal source of secondary data. Internal source include data that is entirely ready to use or required for the processing. Companies, basically companies' annual report or their credit memos, their accounts, their expenses, or their sales invoice are the type of internal sources. So you can get the most accurate data in quantitative form by taking secondary data. So this data is basically gathered from within the firm, such as from the accounting department or from the sales department or from the controlling unit or etc. You can get the secondary data from any department of the organization. Now, what is external source of the secondary data? Basically, external source of the secondary data includes commercial data or the published data. Some geodemographic data or the panel data or the store audit data are the types of some commercial sources. And if we talk about the published data, so it includes the periodical and the financial record of the organization or of any business. So basically, case studies also are the part of external data. So external source of the data includes basically commercial and published data. So these are the types of secondary data from where you can get the already published data, as it is a second-handed data which is already available on the government website or on the some business website or some company's website. So this is secondary data. After understanding the data collection method, primary source of data, secondary source of data, let's understand the stages of investigation. So at what stage you have to choose whether you want to opt for primary data collection or whether you want to opt for secondary data collection. So there are few stages for investigation. First stage is collection of data, second one is organization of data, next is presentation of data, after that analysis of data, and in last interpretation of data. So let's come to the first stage, collection of data. At this stage, as we can say, this is the first stage of investigation. So at this stage of investigation, and in this regard, we have to collect the data. So it is very important to determine that which method of collection is needed to be used to solve the problem, or which method of the data of collection is used to collect the data, whether we have to take primary data collection method or whether we have to take secondary data method, which in which we have got the data which already have been published by some organization. So this is the first step. Now let's come to the second stage, which is organization of data. In the second stage, the data are simplified and made comparatively and are classified according to the time and the place. Next step, as we can say that the third step in presentation of data, as it is the third stage, in this organized data are made simple. In this, organized data is made simple and attractive. They are presented in the form of table, in the form of diagram, or in the form of graphs. So this is the presentation of data. Now comes to the fourth stage, which is analysis of data. Basically, what is done under this stage is to get correct result or to analyze the result if it is necessary. So it is often undertaken by using measures of central tendency, in which we calculate mean, median, mode, or we want to do a correlation between the variables, independent variable or the dependent variable, or we want to do a regression, etc. These can be measure. These are the measure which can be taken for the analysis of the data. Now, in the last stage, interpretation of data, that interpretation of the data is basically the conclusion of the data. So basically, this is made or this is used for comparisons, which is made. This is the interpretation of data is used for forecasting. It is used for decision making, as it is the last stage of the data. So these are the stages which have to be followed by a researcher or who is going to collect the data. Now let's come to the now let's understand primary data collection method and secondary data collection with the help of their difference. So now we will discuss its difference in detail. First, what is so in this table we have the parameter, primary data collection, and the secondary data collection. So what is the definition of primary data collection? Says that the data which is originally collected or directly collected from the source, that is primary data. And the secondary data is that data which is already exist by some other organization. So in this we use already existing data. Data source, next parameter is data source. For primary data collection, we generally use survey method, interview method, schedules, and experiment. For secondary data collection method, we generally take data from books, articles, from newspaper, from reports, which are already published by some other researcher or by some other organization. Next is time required. As primary data collection is a time intensive process in which take more time for collecting a data, while in secondary data collection it required less time consuming as data is already available, so they have to use already published data. Next parameter is cost. Primary data collection method is generally more expensive due to the requirement of the resources. As for collecting primary data, we have to use various resources for the data collection. Now, in secondary data, as secondary data collection is less expensive and it is more cost effective, as it does not involve much cost for accessing the already published data. Now, control over data. In primary data collection, researchers have high control over the quality and the accuracy of the data, while in the secondary data collection method, the it depends on the quality and the accuracy of the original data which we are going to take for our research or for our decision making. Next is examples. So the examples are similar to the data source from where we collect the data. So example of primary data collection are interview method. Interview can be conducted personally or telephonically, or it can be conducted through survey or a group discussion or through experiments, etc. While secondary data is collected through journals, through books, through newspaper articles, through government website, through some online database or through some reports, it can be collected from anywhere. Now the reliability, next parameter is reliability. So when we collect data freshly, so then it is more reliable. The reliability of freshly data collected has more accurate and more, or you can say it can be less biased. Okay, and in secondary data collection, reliability is totally depend on the accuracy of the original source. Now, data depth. So, in primary data collection, details and specific information are collected from the respondents, and in secondary data collection, uh, uh, data depth may vary or do not meet all the requirements of a researcher. Error and biasness. As primary data is freshly collected data, then this is less biased and the chances of error are very less, and the biasness and error can be minimized with the proper execution. And in secondary data collection, the chances of biasness and error are are originally presented in the data itself. Accessibility. For primary data collection, you have to take permission from the concerned participant or from the concerned respondent. Same in the secondary data collection. Secondary data, for taking secondary data, you also have to take prior permission to access that data, which is already published. Now next topic is types of series. So as there are three types of series: individual series, discrete series, and continuous series. So basically, now types of series, as there are three types of series: individual series, discrete series, and continuous series. So these all three series are used in statistics and data analysis and to describe different types of data set. So as when we collect the data, so we have to, so there are different data sets for which we use types of series. So these terms basically refers to the nature of the data which has been collected or analyzed. So let's first understand individual series. What is individual series? So basically an individual series is known as you can say ungrouped series, which is a continuous a set of individual data points or observations. For example, if we collect the data from 10 respondents, if we collect the ages of 10 respondents, then ages should be in numbers like 25 years, 30 years, 40, 45, or 28 or 29 years. So you have an individual series. So you have an individual series because in each each age represent a single person's age, and there is no grouping or no categorization of the data. That is individual series. Now let's come to this discrete series. Discrete series basically a series of data where the data points are distinct and separate. There is no values in between. So the data in which points in a discrete series are typically counted and fall into distinct category or fall into distinct interval, that is discrete series. Let us consider an example. If we want to record the number of students in different classes, then what it should be? Suppose in class 4 there are 25 students, in class 5 there are 30, and in class 6 there are 40 students. So these type of values are in discrete because you are counting whole number of students in a specific number or in a specific category of classes. So that is discrete series basically. Now what is continuous series? So basically a continuous series, also known as grouping series. So basically a continuous series consists of data which represent a continuous range of values. In a continuous series, data points are grouped into interval or into range or into equal interval, which can be included as a number of values. Let us consider or let us understand with an example. Suppose if we have to record the height of individuals for a certain range, for example, 150 to 160 centimeter of height, 160 to 170 centimeter of height, or 170 to 180 centimeter of the height. When we give a range to something, so this is a continuous series. So because the data is grouped into interval, then it can be infinite number of heights with each interval. So that is known as a continuous series. So as continuous series is a type which is that type of data in statistics and data analysis where the data points are grouped, interval or class that have no age gaps. So it is typically used when detailing with large set of data or when the data span a wide range of values. So basically continuous data can be measured such as height, weight, temperature, and time, and there is no limited or to whole number of discrete value or the continuous series. So there are different types of continuous series also. Exclusive series, inclusive series, open-ended series, cumulative frequency, mid-value frequency. So these are the some following types of continuous series. Let's understand what is the types of continuous series. Uh, First one is exclusive series. So in exclusive series, basically the upper limit of one class does not overlap with the lower limit of next class. That is exclusive series. So basically it means that each data point belongs to one and the only one class. So this type of interval are exclusive and do not share values. Let us understand it with an example. If you have a height data set, you might have classes like 150 to 160 centimeter, 160 to 170 centimeter, and so on. So the lower limit in this case is 150 centimeter, which is exclusive to the first class, and upper limit is 160 centimeter, which is exclusive to the first class. So basically this is exclusive series. Now, if we talk about inclusive series, in inclusive series, the upper limit of one class is also the lower limit of the next class. This is opposite to the exclusive series, which means that data point can belong to more than one class. For example, if you have a temperature data set, you might have classes like 0 to 10 degrees Celsius, 10 to 20 degrees Celsius, and so on. So in this case, a temperature of 10 degrees Celsius would be included in both 0 to 10 degrees Celsius and 10 to 20 degrees Celsius. So this is the difference between, this is the difference in inclusive series. So the choice between inclusive and exclusive series basically depend on the nature of the data and the specification of the data. So in this case, we can say that exclusive series may be preferred for clarity, while inclusive series maybe is more used when it's important to capture the data values between the adjusted classes. Now next one is open-ended series. So basically open-ended series is the lower limit of first class in the series, and the upper limit of the last class in the series of missing. So there we can say that there is a below the lower limit, and the first class of the lower limit are the lower limit of the last class. Now next one is cumulative frequency. In cumulative frequency series, we either add or subtract the frequency of all preceding class intervals to determine the frequency for a particular class. So further, the classes are converted into either less than upper limit or the more than upper limit. So this is cumulative frequency. Now the last point is mid-value frequency series. Mid-value frequency series basically is the one in which we have the mid values of class interval. So in other word, we can say that the mid value basically represent the range of a particular class interval. That is mid-value series. So all these exclusive series, inclusive series, open-ended series, cumulative frequency, mid-value frequency are the further classification of the continuous series. Now let's come to the next topic. Application of statistics in various disciplines. As statistics is a broad term, so it is not limited to one stage or one discipline. So basically statistics is applicable on various disciplines. So the most important and popular disciplines are we are going to discuss here. So these points basically are mathematics, business, economics, country administration, astronomy, accounting and auditing, banking and accounting, social sciences, and education. So these are some disciplines in which statistics is used. Let us understand deeply and briefly. First one is mathematics. So the formula which are used in maths are very reliable, but to not get more precise and exactness, now, first point is mathematics. So the formula which are used in maths are more reliable, but to get more precise and exactness, statistical methods were used, and they are very important. As we can say that it is also called the branch of applied maths. Statistically, basically called a branch of applied maths. So there are some common techniques that both the fields have adopted, statistical method and the mathematics. So the statistical method are namely dispersion or the probability, regression, etc. And with the help with the use of maths, and the mathematical concept like integration and algebraic are used in the form. So how this is how both mathematics and statistics are used. They are the uh, reliable and the most adopted field for the uh, data collection. Now, next point is business. So there are times when business has to make quick decisions, and this can be only done by using the concept, by making the decisions easily. So basically, what business strategize that marketing, finance, production, and resources through the with the help of statistics. So there are some questions which are answered with the help of statistic tools in business. Questions like what are the taste and preferences of customer, what should be the quality of the product, or what should be the quality of that food, what should be the target market, what type of product should we sell, and uh, what type of audience, what type of product should we sell. So these are the some questions which are answered with the help of using statistical tools. So basically, statistics help in quality control, or we can say in predictive analysis also. It helps in quality control by using techniques which are used to monitor and to maintain product quality in manufacturing process. Let us understand, or let us take an example. uh, in a uh, in a car manufacturing company, there is a car manufacturing plant. So what is the statistical methods like control chart are used to ensure that the product process are with acceptable quality limits, or it is not acceptable quality limits. So how statistics can help in quality control. Next is predictive analysis. Statistics also help in predictive analysis in business, as businesses use statistics analysis to make prediction about the future outcomes. Suppose if a retail company do analysis on forecasting of sale volume based on the factors such as seasonality and the economic condition, then they will use statistical techniques or the statistical tools. Now, next point is economics. So there are many concepts of economics which are completely dependent on the statistics. So basically, data collection to find out the national income, employment rate, unemployment rate, inflation rate, GDP, annual income, national growth, etc. These all factors are interpreted through the or with the help of statistics. or we can say the theory, the demand and supply theory, the relationship between the demand and supply is also studied with the help of the statistics. So basically, statistics also help in market research, in macroeconomics also. So how statistics help in market research? So basically, statistics is employed to analyze the consumer behavior, their preferences, their market trends. So, when companies use statistical techniques like regression analysis to understand various factors which influence their consumer purchasing decision, then they will forecast the demand for product or the services with the help of statistics. Now, how the statistics help in macroeconomics? So, in macroeconomics, basically, statistics are used to analyze economic indicators such as GDP growth, inflation rate, unemployment rate, employment rate, and the trade balances. So basically, economists use this time series analysis and econometric model to understand the relationship between various variables and make policy recommendation on the basis of the result. So all these results are considered with the help of statistics. Next point is country administration. So many national policies are decided with the help of using statistical methods. So, basically, most of the administrative decisions are taken based on the data, based on the statistical results. So, statistics basically provide most accurate data, which helps the government to make budget, to estimate expenditures, to estimate revenues. Basically, statistics also used to revive the pay scale of employee, and in case the cost of living is rising. So, statistics basically used in various form in country administration. Now, next point is astronomy. How statistic is helpful for scientists. So, when scientists measure the distance between Sun and Earth, distance between Earth and Moon, and distance between Moon to Sun, they did not measure. They did not consider any measurement scale or ruler. They measure all this distance with the help of statistical calculation, statistical formulas. So it was this statistical method only that helped them to find out the best answers and the estimates that are easily possible. So it is difficult to measure the mass size, distance, and density and the object in the universe without any statistical formula. So for all these calculation, statistical tools or statistical technique are used. Accounting and auditing. Now, how statistics is helpful in accounting and auditing? As accounting also need exactness in calculating the profit and loss of the business. So certain decision can be taken according to approximately, which is done through statistics. So basically, in accounting calculation for calculating profit and loss of the business, various statistics method or tool were used by banking sector or by the organization. Let us, for example, sampling may be used to find out the current trend in the market, as it does not require any precision. So how this is statistics also helpful in accounting and auditing? Now next point is banking. So how statistic is helpful in banking? So banking sector use statistical approach for their services. They compare the number of people making deposits against the number of people who are requesting their loans, and at the same time they are ascertaining the estimated day for the claim. So when someone deposited his money in the bank, the idea is that he will not withdraw the money, or he will not withdraw the amount shortly. So what bank did is that bank lent that money to other customer to earn profit in the form of interest. So how this is statistical involvement in the banking sector? This approach, they compare the people, they compare their persons who are making deposits in their bank, and with the number of people who are requesting for the loan at the same time. So this is how statistical tool is helpful in the banking sector. Now next point is social science. So social science is a very broad term. So statistic is basically very useful in social science, as it helps in survey research, as it helps in demographic statistical use of demographic. So when statistics is fundamental to design survey sampling method and analyzing survey data in the field of social science or the political science and the psychology, then researcher use statistical techniques to draw the conclusion about the population or the or for the representative sample. So it also helpful in demography. So demographer use statistics to study population dynamics, which include birth rate, death rate, migration pattern, population projection, statistical methods. So these all are used by demographer with the help of statistics. So basically, statistical method such as demographic analysis and they help in demographic understanding how population change over the time. Now, last point is education. Statistic basically is used in education and research to analyze the test score, to evaluate the educational programs, and to measure the student learning, what are the outcomes of student learning. So all for analyzing all these educational things, an organization need statistics. For example, statistical methods are used to assess the effectiveness of teaching methods, or intervention aimed at improving student performances. So for all these purposes, statistics is also helpful in education.